Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kimberly Guilfoyle Show live on Rumble, where facts come first and where news is done right. And we begin with an update on the tragic, shocking news out of Washington, where a military helicopter collided with an inbound regional jet from Wichita, Kansas at Reagan Airport on Wednesday night. The crash occurred over the Potomac River, and there were at least 60 people on board the commercial aircraft. Crews are still searching for casualties, but do not believe there were any survivors, which is so devastating and sad. Which would make it the deadliest U.S. air crash in nearly 24 years. Passengers on the flight included a group of figure skaters, their coaches, and family members who were returning from a development camp that followed the U.S. Figure Skating Championships in Wichita. The FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board announced they are launching an investigation. And here is President Trump and Defense Secretary Hegseth speaking on the crash earlier today. Watch.
A fairly experienced crew, and that was doing a required annual night evaluation. They did have night vision goggles. The 12th Aviation Battalion, as of now, is granted a 48-hour operational pause on contingency missions as what happened is reviewed, and a senior level aviation team, an investigative team from our Aviation Safety Center was deployed last night and already is in Washington, D.C. to investigate what's going on. We anticipate that the investigation will quickly be able to determine whether the aircraft was in the corridor and at the right altitude at the time of the incident. As I mentioned, next of kin notifications are ongoing. It's a tragedy. A horrible loss of life for those 64 souls on that civilian airliner, and of course, the 3 soldiers in that Black Hawk.
Really sad. Not one of the, press conferences you want to have on your, first days as Secretary of Defense. Can you even imagine? And we will continue to bring you the very latest as it develops, and we continue to pray for all the victims, for their families. Hopefully, God can bring them some peace of mind. And meanwhile, this morning on Capitol Hill, nominee for FBI Director Kash Patel appeared before the Senate Judiciary Committee for his confirmation hearing. And Kash made it clear the FBI must get back to its true purpose of protecting the American people. Watch.
All of those statements are taken out of grotesque context. And anyone that thinks my 16 years of service isn't exemplary on how I would proceed if confirmed as FBI is intentionally putting false information into the public ether and creating more public discourse. The only thing that will matter if I'm confirmed as a director of the FBI is a de-weaponized, depoliticized system of law enforcement completely devoted to rigorous obedience of the Constitution and a singular standard of justice.
I love it. He didn't stop there. Here's how he responded to Democrat attacks about his qualifications and credibility. Take a look.
If the best attacks on me are going to be false accusations and grotesque mischaracterizations, the only thing this body is doing is defeating the credibility of the men and women at the FBI. I stood with them here in this country. In every theater of war we have, I was on the ground in service of this nation. And any accusations leveled against me that I would somehow put political bias before the Constitution are grotesquely unfair. And I will have you reminded that I have been endorsed by over 300,000 law enforcement officers to become the next director of the FBI. Let's ask them.
Mr. Chairman, I am quoting his own words from September of 2024. It is his own words. It is not some conspiracy. It is what Mr. Patel actually said himself. Facts matter.
You forget that you had 3 minutes in the next round to say what you just said.
And just a few doors down, this is really interesting, isn't it? Tulsi Gabbard sat for her hearing to become the next director of national intelligence and had this to say about the need to restore integrity to the intelligence community. Please take a look.
I want to warn the American people who are watching at home. You may hear lies and smears in this hearing that'll challenge my loyalty to and my love for our country. Those who oppose my nomination imply that I am loyal to something or someone other than God, my own conscience, and the Constitution of the United States. Accusing me of being Trump's puppet, Putin's puppet, Assad's puppet, a guru's puppet, Modi's puppet, not recognizing the absurdity of simultaneously being the puppet of 5 different puppet masters. The same tactic was used against President Trump and failed. The American people elected President Trump with a decisive victory and mandate for change. The fact is, what truly unsettles my political opponents is I refuse to be their puppet.
Well stated. We're going to have much more to come on all of this because the stakes have never been higher, especially as we face growing threats from China and other adversaries in the intelligence, technology, and defense sectors. Joining me now is a man who knows about that threat. The CEO, DMA United, author of Some Future Day, How AI is Going to Change Everything, Marc Beckman. Thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to see you. How are you?
You as well. Thank you. Doing quite well. Very interesting news cycle. And we're certainly delighted that you've taken the time to be with us today, and we're going to make the most of it. First off, we are praying, just want to say this, Marc, for all the victims of this shocking crash in Washington, D.C. It's truly, actually, when you think about it, unfathomable. There's obviously an ongoing investigation. We're still gathering, all the facts here in this situation, but early reports are citing possible helicopter pilot error in confirming visual of the wrong aircraft. Okay, so this is likely going to spur a larger discussion about our technology and our air traffic control systems. As you sit here today, based on the information we have right now, what do you think that conversation looks like in the context, of your research and AI technology?
Sure. Something seems very off. I try to listen to the available tapes and recordings of the incident before the planes came together, before the two vehicles came together. And I don't know if you noticed, Kimberly, they were literally 350 feet apart, flying on a clear evening. And there wasn't any alarming information. It wasn't like anybody was alerted from air traffic control or beyond. So something is really off there. As far as technology goes, I would have to imagine that the helicopter, the Black Hawk, has exceptional technology,
Right.
and it goes beyond just human error. For some reason, you would imagine that the level of technology on the Black Hawk is, much higher than I think it was
Superior.
a commuter jet from
Sure.
Wichita, right? That hit. So something must kick in. As it relates to artificial intelligence and all, I've given it a lot of thought. Like, I don't know how far along the Black Hawks are, but the reality is that there is a lot of artificial intelligence capabilities that could significantly avoid this type of damage. There's something called dynamic routing, which is basically when the artificial intelligence sees what's happening before the vehicle. This could include even weather conditions, and in real time shifts the vehicle into a different location. So it's a little bizarre to me that the technology didn't stand up on its own to avoid what, very likely is human error.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about this because, your book actually explores the transformative power of artificial intelligence, how it's poised to transform all aspects of society in which we live, including our own government. How does this book fit into the larger context, of our politics and our culture?
Okay, well, that's a good question. I mean, I personally believe that artificial intelligence is going to fundamentally change not just American society, but all of societies across the globe within 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
I am not just bullish about the technology. I use the technology, and I see the speed that changes are happening, and it's inevitable. What I did with this book, though, in using artificial intelligence with my advertising agency and in my everyday life, I realized that the average person is afraid of it, right? New technology could be scary, intimidating, and more.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've done is I've stood up a book that permits the beginner, the individual who is curious and wants to figure out how she or he may improve their career,
Sure.
their community, or their family. And I run that same concept through every chapter. So I look at industries and sectors, from the creative industries to finance, from medicine to government. My favorite chapter in the entire book is regarding the evolution of warfare, because I take a close analysis of what I call like this post-nuclear period, where we move from big, heavy, and expensive weaponry into agile and very cost efficient weaponry like drones. And it's going to reposition the way that nations not just interact with each other, but enter into war with each other.
You know, look, we're seeing this all like play out, Marc, you know, day after day, especially in our tech arms race with China. Is it fair to say that the Chinese use the same kind of playbook as TikTok with regard to their new AI platform? I'm very curious about this, DeepSeek.
Yeah. So that's a great question. There are a lot of things happening right now as it relates to DeepSeek. Alibaba yesterday stepped up and launched a competitive product to DeepSeek as well, and to OpenAI. Let's remember the American product that's right there. But your concern or the flag that you're raising as it relates to what I call this AI war between China and the United States, I've been talking about this now for over a year. It's real. It happens across three parts of the AI ecosystem, Kimberly. There's the energy piece, there's the compute piece, and there's the algorithm piece.
Okay.
So what we saw happen just over the past few days with DeepSeek is really exploiting two components. It's the algorithm and it's the compute. But what we could benefit from if we leverage American ingenuity and push forward to really compete with our Chinese counterparts is the fact that perhaps, I know for sure they stole the training, right? We know that they distilled, it's called distilling. They distilled OpenAI's training, but people also argue that OpenAI stole all of that content too, but we could get into that. But what's happened is that DeepSeek is now putting in a competitive edge that we need to look out for as it relates to the quality of the chips on the hardware side, these super chips. Like, no longer do we need this very expensive, massive chip from NVIDIA. And the other side of the equation is how information packets are being traded in the inference process of AI. So I might be getting a little too heady with that stuff, and I don't want to. But really what we're doing,
we have the smartest listeners and viewers, so bring it on.
That's not directed at your listeners either. I'm just saying, like, I don't want to get like, I guess the better way of saying that is I don't want to get too deep in the weeds. But the bottom line is, America now, OpenAI and Meta and all these other entities, Microsoft, it's time for them to look at the advances that just came out of this Chinese company, DeepSeek, incorporate them into the way that we're using our product for both training and for inference purposes, and then to go beyond that so that we could beat them.
Well, okay, and let's talk about this, because as you've seen throughout, you know, history and in your studies and you know, your writings and whatnot, any new, you know, disruptive technology, of course, there is always, you know, some public skepticism. Okay. In terms of everyday Americans, you know, what message, when you think about this and process it, are you trying to send about disruptive technology?
Well, here's the thing. What we're talking about right now is really the exciting part and the essence of emerging technologies. Both crypto and AI are working together, and we expect them to move at a very quick speed and to keep advancing, right? It really is the point of technology at the core. But this advance that happened with DeepSeek is just mind-blowing. I mean, they just like took a massive leap forward. It's not a natural progression of development. They really, really made some big moves forward. So I think what people need to do is try the product, not just DeepSeek. If there are reasons to not use DeepSeek, and I'm happy to address that for you, but they need to start using artificial intelligence in their lives, and they could do so through both hardware and algorithms, depending on what they want to do. But people need to get involved with it. People need to innovate with it, integrate it into their companies. Now, what DeepSeek has done is they've made it affordable for the individual entrepreneur, for the individual who's at a emerging level of business. And these people could really compete with and disrupt legacy businesses too.
Okay, let's talk about the Trump administration for a minute, if we can. You know, they've really been leaning into innovation. As you've seen, they're embracing cryptocurrency. They're investing billions into AI. So what does a successful government approach to these technologies look like to you? And are we missing any marks? Where do you expect it to go? Are you pleased sort of with the trajectory? This is what we're very curious about.
Yeah. So we came out of like moving into the Biden from the last Trump administration moving into the Biden administration, there was a lot of money flowing into emerging technology. We had the best talent and we had the most investment. When Biden came in, what happened was the SEC chairman really created a situation of uncertainty. We didn't know how a security would be defined. We really didn't have a rule book in place. What I'm hoping happens here is not so much about deregulation, it's more about certainty. And it looks like from President Trump's executive order, that's part of what he's going to focus in on. He's putting a panel of experts together who will analyze both crypto and AI and put together, let's say, re-regulation in a way so that we have certainty in the marketplace and we could once again attract the most talented builders as well as money for investment.
Okay, so there's a saying that there's decades where nothing happens and then weeks where decades happen. I like that.
We are right there right now.
Right? Okay, so there you go. I'm like, are we in that moment right now?
We are totally, Kimberly, we are totally in that moment right now.
So cool.
This is going to be a very exciting time for all of us, for people like you and your viewers, people who are curious and want to embrace new technologies. Like, I'm looking at the image of your book. We're going to be able to take that book and quickly roll it up to be a movie. You could do that now. You could create a soundtrack now, and then people could create entire businesses around it just from the cover that I'm looking at.
That's unbelievable.
We're in that moment right now, and it's easy. It's not so difficult.
Well, that's so cool. I love it. I love innovation and technology. I think we should embrace it, not be afraid, but study it, think about it, be, deliberate about it. But so far, so good. You also, this is very interesting. I love her so much. You recently interviewed First Lady Melania Trump. Okay, that's pretty cool. She's amazing. We're both boy moms too, and our sons are friends. But where did that discussion take you, and what do you envision for her major initiatives over the next 4 years?
It's cool that you brought this up. I love this interview too. I'm really proud of it, in fact. First of all, Melania Trump, we're talking about emerging technologies. Melania's been way ahead of the curve. In fact, she's embraced blockchain and Web3 technology since leaving the White House the first time, which is really remarkable if you think about it. And I believe that she launched that entire vertical based on a few things, mainly, though, at that point in time, to not be canceled. Remember, after the Trump administration finished its last time, as you're very well aware, there was a lot of cancel culture happening with Amazon and Apple and beyond, right? So that was like the key there. So it was an exciting part of our conversation. But in our discussion, she disclosed a lot about herself. It comes off of the book that has never been shared before. A range of topics from, as you mentioned, being a strong-minded mother, putting her family first, her commitment to the nation, her commitment as First Lady, and then, of course, her charitable endeavors, which people don't really understand that she's so committed towards. She's been leveraging Be Best for a while now and continues to do so with Fostering the Future. And I think that I have a good reason to understand that very soon she'll be announcing how Be Best will progress forward as she's First Lady this time around.
I'm really excited about it, and I know how deeply she cares and committed she has been, and it is not easy any single day in Trump world, let alone being the former First Lady and current First Lady of the United States. And, she's very caring and loving, compassionate, very smart, wonderful family. She had an incredible mother, God bless her and rest her soul. And Victor's fabulous. She's raised a really nice boy in Barron. He's here at our house all the time. I just want to get a little bit of like a takeaway, a little taste of what you think the future will hold. What should we look forward to? What kind of innovation, development? I know you said the next 3 to 5 years, et cetera, really changing the way that we kind of look at the world, the way we live in the world. Just want to get some of that, some nuggets to take away.
Yeah, I think that artificial intelligence is truly poised to advance humankind in the most significant ways. For example, in medicine, we'll be able to predict illnesses before they happen and in turn stop them from happening. We'll have more food security and we'll have more access to natural resources and beyond because of this new technology. You're going to see entire communities rise together as it relates to wealth accumulation, more time that people could spend with their families, more time that people could spend to innovate and create in ways that they haven't had before, because AI is going to remove a lot of these monotonous tasks. You talk about being at home right now. Well, it isn't. I think it won't be another 2-3 years until you're literally using robots at home with all of those tasks that we all hate, from cleaning around the house and cooking and beyond. And that's going to free you up to spend more time with your children and really innovate and be the thought leader that you are. So we're looking at some really great things: better healthcare, more food security,
I love that.
more prosperity.
I want people to be lifted up.
It's
I mean,
gonna
there's
happen.
people suffering out there that don't have enough food to eat or making choices so that they can feed their children and take care of them. Healthcare choices, based on financial resources. So I'm really looking forward to that innovation affecting and impacting, the human condition and experience, and the impact that it can have, just even on the family structure. Going forward. I'm really excited. I'm a big fan of yours. Love the work that you do.
Thank you.
I think it's really interesting and always exciting to learn and to grow. So we're thrilled to have you on the program, today. Thank you so much for joining us. And everyone, please
Thank you.
go check out the book. Tell us, Marc, where we can get it. The book someday. Go ahead.
So Some Future Day: How AI is Going to Change Everything can be purchased at Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, Target, all of the major booksellers now. I had a nice thing happen, Kimberly. It went to #1 in artificial intelligence, #1 in cryptocurrency, #1 in robotics. So I'm really excited about it. And I hope
It's a
people
triple
embrace
crown,
it.
Marc.
I'm so proud. I worked hard, but I'm really proud of it. And I hope people embrace it, because after every single chapter, I literally provide the reader with tools that he or she could use immediately as it relates to using AI.
Which is really cool. I think that's a nice touch. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a lot to take in, process, and then it's like, okay, here's what you can do now. So it's like a how-to, almost like a manual to be able to succeed. People like that.
Yeah, if you want to learn how to cook or become a fashion designer or create movies or develop new songs, here are the tools. And I go through like generative AI and data-based AI. It's really, really valuable.
That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. I love it. Some Future Day, fabulous individual, very compelling, and just a fascinating mind as well. Marc Beckman, thank you for joining us today. Go
You're
get that
so
book.
kind. I appreciate you so much. Really, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
the kind words and the time, Kimberly.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. It was an honor. All right. Be well, my friend. Again, go get his book, Some Future Day, Marc Beckman. And coming up, full coverage of the confirmation hearings today on Capitol Hill. And in the meantime, remember to protect your savings with the Birch Gold Group. With President Trump back in office, you're going to have more money in your paycheck and more opportunities to prepare for the future. Birch will take you through the process step by step, answer any questions, and help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold so you don't pay a penny out of your pocket. Want to learn more? Text KG to 989898 today. That's KG to the number 989898. And I also want to bring you a special message from Patriot Lifestyle, where you can save more and spend less on a whole host of different lifestyle benefits, from savings on travel, identity theft, legal services, and even pet care. Take a look. Guilfoyle here, and I'm so excited to introduce the Patriot Lifestyle Benefits Program. With our benefits program, you get a range of lifestyle benefits at an affordable price so you can save money and stay secure. For example, as a member, you will access exclusive discounts with NB Cash Back, so you can save more on your everyday expenses like groceries, restaurants, and even auto services. And with NB Travel, you can experience more but spend less by enjoying deep discounts on flights, hotels, entertainment, and so much more. These benefits are available to you and your immediate family to use anytime, anywhere. We also offer identity theft protection so you can stay on top of any unauthorized, fraudulent, or illegal activity. And access free and discounted legal services so you can protect your rights and receive top legal advice without breaking the bank. Plus, enjoy peace of mind on the highway with our roadside assistance program. And even take care of your furry friends. with discounts on pet food, toys, medicine, grooming, and even trips to the vet. Our program is designed specifically for America First patriots like you, who understand the importance of letting your dollars reflect your values and supporting companies who support you. And the best part of all of this, our benefits are at below market prices, so you can enjoy all of them while living the Patriot lifestyle to the fullest. So don't miss out. Visit our website at patriotbenefits.net. That's patriotbenefits.net. Thank you again for choosing the Patriot Lifestyle Benefits Program, where real benefits and real savings are our top priority. Join us today and start saving now. And you can go to patriotbenefits.net to learn more, because these programs all come at an extraordinary value and will greatly improve your life. Now, earlier today, Kash Patel appeared before the Senate Judiciary Committee to be confirmed as the next FBI director. And he made it clear he is ready to get the FBI back to its true purpose of protecting the American people. Watch.
If the best attacks on me are going to be false accusations and grotesque mischaracterizations, the only thing this body is doing is defeating the credibility of the men and women at the FBI. I stood with them here in this country. In every theater of war we have, I was on the ground in service of this nation. And any accusations leveled against me that I would somehow put political bias before the Constitution are grotesquely unfair. And I will have you reminded that I have been endorsed by over 300,000 law enforcement officers to become the next director of the FBI. Let's ask them.
Mr. Chairman, I am quoting his own words from September of 2024. It is his own words. It is not some conspiracy. It is what Mr. Patel actually said himself. Facts matter.
You forget that you had 3 minutes in the next round to say what you just said.
I love this. It's so crazy, right? Joining me now, FBI whistleblower and author of True Blue, great friend of this show, Steve Friend. Steve, thank you so much for being back with us again. So, I'm so happy that we can spend this moment, this time together with our listeners and our viewers on such an important occasion, something that you have fought, valiantly for, which is reform within the FBI. Here we have Kash Patel, with 300,000, supporters in law enforcement saying that he should be the next director of the FBI. You know better than anybody, inside and out, about the agency. First off, may I please get your top line reactions to today's hearing and the message and story that Kash Patel was able to tell?
Well, he just did fantastic, and I would expect nothing less than a guy like Kash, who's eminently qualified to take on the position of the FBI director, and he's great under fire there. I don't think the Democrat senators brought very much because he's just got a clean record. He's super qualified. He brings a unique experience being both a prosecutor and a defense attorney. I think that's extremely valuable. He's very familiar with intelligence and with national security matters. And on top of that, his reputation is about rooting out the corruption that he saw firsthand from the FBI. So I thought he did an utterly fantastic job. Yeah. And he, at the right moments, emoted correctly to take a lot of umbrage with the accusations that he was not going to fulfill the oath of office, to actually put the Constitution first and foremost in everything that he does. Look, the FBI has core values, and sometime around September of 2020, they rearranged them. It used to be rigorous obedience to the Constitution was first and foremost amongst them. Then it got moved to the end of the line. It was behind things like diversity. I think Kash Patel is going to come back in and put that at the top line there, and I was really just extremely pleased with his performance throughout the entire day, which was very long.
I know. I thought he did a wonderful job. Tulsi Gabbard, too. So Kash's story, Steve, is one that many Americans, they may be hearing for the first time. He was a public defender. I know you know that, and I know that, but some people don't know. He worked in the White House, the Defense Department, and the Justice Department, but in many, theaters of war, serving in terms of his background and intelligence. And his parents fled persecution in India. What effect does his kind of background have on the leadership capability that he can have, if confirmed, inside the FBI?
Well, just contrast that with the history of FBI directors who have always been on the other side of the gun. I mean, it ain't no fun when the rabbit's got the gun. His family survived tremendous amounts of persecution and actually fled it to give him that opportunity and elevated him in this country. They appreciate what it means to be an American and every opportunity that he has. He really has taken that to heart. And the defense attorney side of it is extremely important. He has an appreciation for the amount of power that is at the fingertips of a federal agency, a law enforcement agency like the FBI. And he talked about it a little bit today in his opening, and how one of the most important lessons he learned was actually in defending some of the worst people and realizing that we have to actually uphold due process rights and civil rights for the worst amongst us, because if we don't do that, then no one can have those assured to him. He basically took on the role of John Adams defending the redcoats, and he did so and succeeded in doing it. And look, I don't think that he was jumping up and high-fiving anyone because he let some sort of drug dealer out of jail there, but that's really the prime directive of government, and that's really what Kash Patel identified with his remarks today. The prime directive in law enforcement, in federal service, is to follow the process. It's not outcome driven, it's process driven. Success is in following that process. If you get a conviction or an acquittal at trial, that just means that the facts supported a conviction or didn't support the conviction. That's not on you as an investigator or as a prosecutor, as Kash Patel was. And I think that he actually understands that, and bringing that unique perspective and that background is going to be a huge impact. And even in my conversations in back channels with people on the inside today, morale's through the roof in order to welcome a Director Patel into the FBI.
That is so cool. I love hearing that, because you talk to the rank and file, which is fantastic. So you're giving us, the insight. But you saw some of those Democrats questioning him. They seem more concerned, Steve, about like his book or media hits, et cetera, than his actual mission and purpose and focus for the FBI. Why is that?
You have the attorney background. Isn't the saying that when you have the facts, you pound the facts? When you have the story, you pound the story. When you have nothing, you just pound the table. They just didn't have anything on him. Like, when you're leaning in, when your primary attack is that you're concerned about the charity that he runs or any sort of charitable effort to help military veterans or law enforcement whistleblowers, and that's what you're going to lead with, it just doesn't speak really well of you. So they continually went back to the well of the January 6th choir, which Kash Patel was able to raise a lot of money to help people that were victims of government weaponization. And he was very clear that he opposed any sorts of violence against law enforcement. And he was very smart to point out the fact that the prior administration, Joe Biden in the waning days, allowed a FBI murderer 2 times, Leonard Peltier, out. He gave him a commutation and actually had a Democrat senator defend that decision, defend that individual who executed 2 FBI agents at point blank range with an AR-15 in the head 50 years ago.
Awful, awful. God rest their souls. And, it's ironic, Steve, that Democrats now claim, to be concerned, please, about the weaponization of justice. Given where we find ourselves over the last several years, what is your reaction to that hypocrisy?
Well, this is what the communist left does in this country. Look, they when they have the power, it's pretty simple. Know your role, shut your hole. They put the boot to the throat, and they use every lever of power that they can to punish their enemies and reward their friends. But now that the political winds have shifted and they find themselves in the minority and out of the power, they're going to use what they can to their advantage. And that is the fact that the people that are in power have a libertine worldview, a magnanimous worldview. We want to expand the tent out. We want to have conversations with people who we might not necessarily agree with and see where we find some common ground. They see that as an opportunity. They're going to use that default setting that you have, that I have, where we actually want to get along, where we actually want to have a goal where we all can all prosper, we can all make progress in the right direction, we can all succeed. And they're going to use that to their advantage and say, hey, let me sidle up to you. But then, if and when the pendulum swings the other way, they're going to default back to what they really like to do, and that is to exert power again to reward their friends and punish their enemies. So I didn't take anything that they said there where they wrapped themselves in the American flag, which a minute ago they couldn't wait to throw on the ground and set on fire, very seriously. And the fact is that any sort of arguments that they made throughout the entire afternoon were just weak tea. They didn't have any goods because there are no goods. Kash Patel's a stand-up guy. He's got an incredible reputation. He's an incredible service for the country for the better part of almost 2 decades at this point. and they just weren't able to lay a glove on him. And again, we're back to process here, outcome driven. The facts did not support a conviction in any way against Kash Patel because he's the right man for the job.
You're absolutely right. I'm glad to hear you speak so earnestly and forcefully about it. What could Kash's leadership mean when you think about your time back in the agency, about the FBI's, what the leadership could mean for the FBI's rank and file, right? How will it impact?
Well, I think it's already made an impact. I mean, today we talked about having some insiders learned that the special agent in charge of the Miami field office announced his retirement immediately during the hearing today, and did so in a specific email that was not able to be printed or forwarded. It was just within the office of Miami. That's Jeffrey Veltri, whose reputation was going after military veterans and people who were hesitant to get the coronavirus vaccine, and saying that they were insider threats who needed to be pushed out of the FBI. It's also an individual who had to purge his social media accounts of all the anti-Donald Trump rhetoric before he took that post as a special agent in charge of Miami field office, because Mar-a-Lago was actually in his area of responsibility there. It's really why we haven't seen any sort of progress on the second assassination attempt. So it's already starting. There's a lot of fear on the inside of people who are within management. And we've seen a rash of retirements and people stepping away, and even people who are part of the rank and file, the BRIC agents, who are just not ideological fellow travelers who believe that when you swear an oath, you have to protect the Constitution. You have to protect your fellow citizens against fraud and force, regardless of who they vote for. So all these things are pointing in the right direction, which is why I was getting multiple messages from all over the country today that even within their own circles, there was a lot of celebration about the way Kash performed.
Oh, good. I'm so happy. I think he did a phenomenal job, and I knew that he would, and I really wanted him to get this position. What could Tulsi Gabbard's leadership, we switch gears here for a second, mean for the DNI and the intelligence community at large, more broadly?
Well, we need to have a system disruption here for intelligence, because the IC has effectively become the secret police force. And when you pair it with my ex-girlfriend over at the FBI, where they actually have the use of force available to them, the gun to take away your freedom or potentially your life, it's problematic. And I think she represents that sort of paradigm shift that we have to have, where we've gotten into this mentality of we need to look at the American people as not the people we're supposed to protect against fraud or force, but as people who are opportunities for the bureaucracy to grow, for it to expand, because that is what bureaucracies do. They are self-licking ice cream cones. It's like Skynet from the Terminator, right? Skynet from the Terminator is just a computer program. It's not good or bad, but its prime directive is to ensure its own survival. It comes to the realization that the people can unplug me, so it goes after the people. Government bureaucracy is no different. It has now gotten to the point that it looks at the American people and says, well, you are favoring a paring back of my capabilities or my funding or my personnel levels, so we're going to direct our resources at you. We're basically at the bottom of the slippery slope that we were warned about a quarter century ago with the Patriot Act after September 11th, where so many libertarians and Ron Paulites were talking about the fact that inevitably the government would come for you. We're there now. We're at the bottom of the slippery slope, particularly with the intelligence space. We're at the end of the Niemöller poem. First they came for the trade unionists, then the socialists, then the Jews, and I said nothing, and now they've come for me, and there's no one left to speak for me. So I think Tulsi Gabbard going in there to shake things up and actually get it onto course correction to serve the American people rather than look at them as targets of opportunity for the bureaucracy is a healthy move.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And you, of course, wrote a book, well known, about your persecution, which was horrific, unconscionable, unacceptable by the FBI, because all you did was tell the truth. You were calling out an abuse of power. What does this all mean to you as you reflect on it, this moment in time, personally, like if Kash is confirmed?
I look at it from more of a macro perspective. I've had 29 months since they escorted me out of the building and made me unpaid and definitely suspended forever. And I reflect back on that originally happening and that shock to the system. And it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. I never envisioned myself being in a format where I was talking to someone like yourself or having the connections and the friendships that I've had with the other few people, Kyle Seraphin, Garrett O'Boyle, Marcus Allen, and others who are not known to the public as well. And I said, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. We saw the writing on the wall. We all stepped forward because we all recognize that we're in an Isaiah 6:8 moment. Whom shall I send? Here I am, send me. Now where we sit 2.5 years later, this is a twice in a lifetime opportunity. There were so many people who were on the inside of the FBI who agreed with me, who told me personally, I agree with what you're doing, I respect what you're doing, but I just can't step forward because they're fearful. They had mouths to feed and mortgages to pay and alimony they were responsible for. Whatever the reason was, that they turned their back on their oath of office, and they just actually did it for their own personal enrichment at that point. They made that sacrifice. They punked out. And now they have a twice in a lifetime opportunity. They were weighed and measured and found wanting 2 years ago. Now they have the second chance, the second bite of the apple, where they can step forward and say, a new day is here. Kash Patel said very specifically in his opening statement that it should be about the due process, the rule of law. And they have a chance to actually get on board here. And I'm actually optimistic for the first time in a long time that maybe we don't need to actually do a full demolition of the FBI. We might just be able to do a major renovation as long as Kash Patel is at the helm.
I think you're right about that. And can I ask you to expand just a little bit further on that? And that I like that you say versus a major renovation. There's things that can be done now, which is a smart way to do it. I mean, yeah, everyone likes the idea of a sledgehammer. However, if there are things there that can be maintained, or you get the people out that are the bad apples, and like people like you said today, the Miami chief that resign. If you get some of those people out, can you rehabilitate the structures, the infrastructure of the FBI? And what are some of the things that you would like to see done once Kash is confirmed, God willing, on day one for him in office?
He can make some institutional changes on day one pretty quickly. He should eliminate integrated program management, IPM. That's the quota system that the FBI has established for itself. James Comey brought it in about 10, 11 years ago. It was from McKinsey Consulting, where they were going to set a quota for the number of arrests that they had to have in intelligence products and cases they had to open. That needs to go away. That turns law enforcement on its head. Your goal should be to bring crime down, not bring it up so you can go back to the Congress and get more funding. I think they need to eliminate the intelligence branch entirely from the FBI. It is a police force. It's not a secret police force, and that's what happens when you bring in intelligence collection. They start to look at the American people as targets of opportunity. I think that they need to reform the way they view even their terrorism mission at this point. Domestic terrorism is, by and large, a criminal offense. There's really not a domestic terrorism statute. It should be investigated by criminal investigators. It shouldn't be the entrapment schemes that we've seen for the last 25 years, where they evolved through the mission creep and they stopped going after legitimate terrorist actors and they started looking at homegrown violent extremists, and then domestic violent extremists, and then militia violent extremists, and then anti-government, anti-authority violent extremists, basically changing the definition until it got to the point where it was people who had a preference for small government were the bad actors that they could go against. We need to do away with actually the term extremist entirely. Look, you're extremist if you have a carnivore diet, or you like to go run a 10K every single morning to stay healthy. You're basically on the extreme end of the bell curve there. I think we need to do away with that. Language will go a long way. There's also been the directive from President Trump about DEI. That has to go away. The core values of the FBI need to go back to rigorous obedience to the Constitution, and the hiring that has gone on in the last few years.
Well, you said rigorous obedience to the Constitution. Yes,
rigorous obedience
and
to the
Kash
Constitution.
mentioned that in his hearing.
One and only. That should be the only thing that you're concerned about. And the vetting process that you bring people in and you hire the most qualified, capable people, and you train them. The way that it's now gone is they've hired people who are not capable, not competent, and they said, well, the academy will wash those people out. The academy isn't Navy SEALs buds training. The academy is supposed to teach competent, capable, meritorious people how to be really effective FBI agents. It should not be on them to wash out people, because we want to fill those slots with capable people to begin with.
Agree, absolutely. So let's ask the $1 million question, shall we?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. I like that. See, so good. Would you ever want to go back to the Bureau? And I know you probably have had varying emotions and thought process about this, throughout this journey in the 29 months and where we find ourselves today. Is there a path for you to do that? Kind of what are your thoughts? And also perhaps you've had these discussions with some of your colleagues that have been persecuted and are similarly, situated.
Like I've always said, that my oath doesn't expire until I do. I took that oath very seriously.
I like
If
that.
I could get brought back into the capacity to assist Kash Patel to do that, that's definitely something that I would entertain doing. I'm in a little bit of a difficult situation just because going back to my old job, as much as I love doing my old job, I mean, I basically said that my hobby was being an FBI agent. That would be difficult, seeing as how I'd be working for the same person that escorted me out 29 months ago. So it might create a little bit of static. But that being said, in the last couple of years, I've been able to cultivate a pretty big network and been able to identify other problem areas and gotten myself even up to speed and educated on matters that had eluded my awareness of when I was just focusing on putting bad guys in jail. So I think that the opportunity to work and assist Kash Patel in this mission is something that, again, we're back to Isaiah 6:8. There might be other things in my mind, but this is a unique time, twice in a lifetime opportunity. And if the phone rings, I'll definitely take the call.
Yeah, I think it would be a fascinating journey. I love the justice of it, the vindication, the ability to serve, having been through so much and getting that chance again. God sees everything, to serve and to make a difference and to make sure that this never happens, to another agent, another family, what you have been put through. But as you know, my friend, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And you certainly have been a shining light and an example to all the rest of us of what you can do as one human being, facing adversity and challenges and standing up in your faith and making sure to make a difference and using your God-given voice, which I think is extremely impactful, and a great sacrifice, a great testament to you, to your family, to how you were raised, and the lessons that we've been able to learn from you. I'm super excited to see what the future holds. I've always known it's going to be bright. Thank you so much. Everybody go out there, get his book. Steve, tell everyone where they can get it, and watch you and find out all more information that they want to know.
Well, thank you for that. And when you're not watching me on Kimberly Guilfoyle show, where I always enjoy talking to her, you can find me on X. My handle is @RealSteveFriend. The book is called True Blue, My Journey from Beat Cop to Suspended FBI Whistleblower. It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And I have the podcast as well called the American Radicals Podcast, which is on Rumble, rumble.com/mradpod, 3 days a week. I do that with Garrett O'Boyle. Yep. Next episode is Saturday, 10:30 a.m.
10:30 a.m. Okay, perfect. All right. And tell Garrett I said hello, give him my best as well. We love having him on this program. Proud of both of you. God bless, my friend. Thank you so much for being on the program, Steve.
Thank you.
All right. And my closing remarks just ahead. But first, if you would, check out another one of our incredible sponsors, because these sponsors, like the 1775 company, make this show possible. And we talk about it all the time. Don't compromise on taste, quality, or your values. And 1775 coffee is brewed to perfection, crafted with precision, and built on patriotism. The farm to cup process means there is quality, authenticity, and sustainability from start to finish. All the beans are ethically and exclusively single sourced. So why don't you try 1775 coffee today? Here it comes, folks. It's not a fake bag. We're going to drink it. Go to 1775coffee.com/KG and you will get 15% off of your first order. That's the Trump economy, folks. 15% off your first order. Try it today. And in closing, we continue to pray for the victims, God bless, and their families of this shocking, horrific tragedy that occurred. Think about this and actually absorb it. Take it into your heart. Life is precious. Life is valuable. And it can all change at a moment's notice. There will be a lot of questions and a full investigation in the months ahead. And as we continue to learn more, please remember to also learn more about the victims and their stories and their families. And take a moment to hug the ones you love. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It's always such a pleasure and an honor. Thank you. Please be sure to download the Rumble app, subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, like and share, and tell all your friends so they know exactly where to find us. And please also be sure to follow me across all platforms: X, Truth Social, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Stay tuned to Rumble, please, for all the latest breaking news coverage. And please don't miss Don Jr.'s big show at 6 p.m. Eastern. He will have Congressman Corey Mills, amongst others. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you again very soon. God bless.